Finally, today I've been wanting to get into this. Yesterday I didn't get into it, but I want to get into the shorting bootcamp, part 3, part 4, day 3, day 4 lessons, right? So let's get into it. Rock and roll time. So, hold on here. I've messed up here, team. AK's like, okay, technical difficulties. I haven't done a PowerPoint on this yet, so I messed up there. That was my bad, team. All right, so let's get into this again. All right, team. You're like, AK, you're totally messing up here. There, finally got it. There we go, rocking and rolling. I know you can still see me. All right, so let's get into it. Shorting bootcamp, day 3, day 4 lessons here, team. Wanted to get into it yesterday. Finally can combine both today. So here we go. Here comes day 3, and I want to finish off, which to me is super important, and it's the shorting of shelves. Shorting of shelves are just have been money for me lately. I mean, overall this month, the shorting of shelves I've been, relatively 85 to 90% win rate. Like it's 25 or 30-ish or something along that range, whatever it is. It's so whatever the exact number is, but it's about 85-ish% for the year, 85 to 90% for this main reason why. Finding these areas, this was just in VCT. I'm going to go back to a lot of recent tickers that you're looking at and where great shorts are to be had. And then what you're looking at when you're shorting these shells, team, you're looking at beautiful areas of support that get built up. So in this area, in my mind, $5 right on the dot was perfect for NVCT. See it once and twice right through here. It was also the open of the candle. We didn't quite hit it here, and that's fine. But then look how we came back through right here and rested right on it. So we know when we come through and see 1, 2 in the open of a candle, didn't quite get there, but we know 5. It's pretty much 5. Then when we come right down on top of it and we're resting on top of it for multiple candles here, and it's not pushing and not pushing and not pushing, it pretty much is just pushing down essentially, kind of thinking about it that way, and wanting to break down, wanting to crack, right? That's exactly what we get here. And so a lot of the time, the main thing, if you want to do a limit order, that's fine, but you want to be careful for a lower shadow that can create, but that's why I usually market order in. And the main thing for confirmation, A1A, is closing outside, right? We know when this gets down and closes and opens, just like my trend line cracks, and no, it's not right in at 498 or 499. No, it's not, team. But you're still in right around 490, right around 490. This cracks back all the way to close to 445. That's a pretty good short. That's a pretty nice short, and you're only in it for about 5 to 7 minutes, maybe at most, right? So this is what you're waiting for. Cracking outside of said shelf. Look at the beautiful shelf that was built right there. I should have almost put an example like I did my sandwiches back in the day and actually put a picture of a shelf right there. So we know when we build up this shelf, and you're waiting for it. Like I said, you're a stock sniper. You're just waiting, just as much as you can. So just cool. I'm just waiting and waiting because this took 45-ish minutes, 50 or so until it finally cracked, but was a beautiful crack, beautiful play. That's what you're just waiting for. You're not forcing plays. You're just sitting back, nonstop watching NVCT, getting in on the short opportunity. Closes outside, opens outside, buy. Buy, especially red to red candle. Oops, that's my bad, team. Slide number 3. Let's get into it, team. Example number 2. Same exact thing. NVCT, like 2 days later, doing the same thing. Look at this shelf. Team, it's beautiful. Now, we do see one little lower shadow there. That would be my only cause of concern going, hey, if we need to open and close outside of this. Otherwise, we know $8 pretty much on the dot. It's like right above 8. But that is beautiful. Literally, hit on it. We come down, and then it's sitting again. What are we waiting for? It didn't happen here, did it? We're waiting for a close and open of candle. Now, this is going to be one of those ones where it kind of becomes what I talk about, the point of no return. When this thing gets down to, say, below the 790 mark, whoops, did not mean to scroll back, the 790 mark, you're going to be probably good to go. You see 780. I mean, you definitely see 780. You need to be jumping in at this point in time. Why? The point of no return, there's no way it's getting back up above $8 and being a low shadow at this. There's no way. There's no way it's going to be a lower shadow of 20 cents at this point in time when, like I said, you're watching your ticker close, right? It's slowly but surely getting the time you're watching, right? Remember when I pulled over yesterday, you're watching a little time frame that's on your clock. You're watching in a 1 minute time frame. There's 15 seconds left. Oh, there's 14 seconds left. Oh, there's 12 seconds left. Oh, there's 10 seconds left. I need to jump in this. It's already at 780. That's that point of no return to where you know with a certain amount of seconds left in that 1 minute time frame, there's no way it's getting back up above this area and to form essentially and close above and to be a lower shadow, essentially like we saw here. So that's where, again, it takes a little while to get into it. But even if you would have jumped in, which there's another example today, even if you would have jumped in at 765 somehow, you got in at 765, you waited that long, it's kind of a good short. I mean, that was pretty money, you know what I mean? So this is exactly what I'm looking for. So don't also, sometimes some trader says, oh, I didn't get in. Even if you would have gotten in at 7.8, 7.7, 7.65 even in the end. You even waited for the candle to do the open and close, the close and open, I should say, and got in at 7.60. Team, look at the return still in the end on this. Beautiful shorts off these shelf cracks. This was ARIB. Does anyone remember ARIB this morning when I was yelling? Not say yelling, but this is the one when I finally got in the chat. This was exactly what I was alerting this morning. The first stock I was alerting, ARIB, the shelves. Now here is where I was coming back to. Do you see this shelf right here that goes up to 3.4? Do you see the top of the shelf? That's where most of the bounces came from. Look at where the bottom of the shelf ended up being, 3.3. So when you crack 3.3, there's really there's no upper shadows until, nothing until 3.20. Under 3.2, there's really nothing until right here. About what would you call that? About the 3.15 mark or something like that. Then under that, you've got, well, of course, eventually was going to be the VWAP, but then is now going to be what? Like 3-ish, right around 3, right? See this little sandwich? Like I'd call that about 3.05. You can see where the bouncing was before, resistance was. So point being, you crack 3.40 and 3.30, you got a good short in your hand. And I just want to show you the wedge that and yes, I use this wedge because you can see, the pre-market spike where it came from, it was hitting 3.40. That's where most of the bouncing was coming from, but I do see other upper shadows right around 3.30. So let's get into the next slide, so you can see it a little bit more zoomed in here. And then you can see exactly what I was saying, the 340 area. When that and the VWAP cracks, that was my alert. Then the 330 area, your money, baby. Your money. And unfortunately, should have taken a later screenshot on this, and I didn't. We see where AREB went down to. It went down to 3, and I think maybe even below 3 for a minute, but it went to 3. So this was a beautiful short opportunity, and it wasn't much long after this that it started cracking even more. So even if you would have waited for the open and close of candles of all these and got in at, say, 325-ish, right, you still would have had a good short in the end, as this cracked off down to the $3 area. PENN, another great one from the other day, team. Remember from the opening bell, not only overextended move, but a shelf was formed. So up on earnings, and I'm like, oh, you got to be kidding me. This is way too high on the earnings report. I was hoping for it to kind of skyrocket a little bit more because of past chart history. When it didn't, it started coming down and forming this flag, and I forgot what session I was in. I was in with the session with someone saying, when this area cracks, when this $50 area cracks right here, or I should say 49.50 area, 49.50 it was. See the first little lower shadow? Then it came down and rested on it. Then it came down again and really started resting. I was like, oh my gosh, if this cracks, it's going to dump off big time. And so getting in then through the VWAP, because then I went over and did the shelf stuff. So I went over and saw this little shelf right here. And I was like, oh, this and this. The VWAP, I don't know if it'll hold, but I think it'll just barely hold. I think there'll be more bouncing. And if these none of these hold, these small little kind of small sandwiches, as I like to call them, where candles open and close right next to each other, especially this one, when none of those hold and the VWAP doesn't hold, this is going to dump. It's going to dump away. And then just boof, 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 boof. And then, of course, because when you dump through this, there's really nothing holding it up, right? Till close to this area. And there's where those lower shadows got really close to returning back around. Finally, for a little bit of a bounce. This was a super short return, but this was a little bit more of a, at least $1 plus bounce or so, where it, and again, still fell back off even more, right? You could have been into 46.5. It was one of those ones where, of course, I'm out way later on. I was out right here. When this was hitting close to the 48.30s area and 48, because I thought it was going to literally get a bounce after, even though I know there was nothing holding it up, but I'm like, I was going to see some kind of bounce, right? And it didn't, and it just kept cracking. I should have just stuck to my levels reading the chart. But again, back to where the short is, team. We can get in any questions you want to ask me right after this. But I'm going to let you know, look for these shelves. 100% of the time when they get built up and the more they get tested, you're just waiting for them to crack. And when they crack, you're going down into the left and trying to find your support areas. Any of these. We can go back up to the one before, right? So say this one, you're going down to 330. When we cracked from there was nothing holding up to what? Pretty much that 305 area. That was where it pretty much eventually worked its way down to. There was a little bit, if we go back to past chart history, right? There was a little bit there, remember, around that 315 area. And that's where it first came down to right here, right? And so it came down right to 315 from where past chart history. So I'm going down and to the left, even if I have to go to pre-market, even on maybe going to the day before or using the 1 year, 1 day. I usually get most of mine from the day before or the last 24-ish hours or so. Sometimes I'm using the 1 year, 1 day, but I love using it. Definitely helps. And that's exactly what you're looking for in any of these instances, right? Say with NVCT, there's nothing to holding us up. Once we crack this right here, and that's where it did, that lower shadow came to. And then when we finally got in below that, there's nothing holding us up, team, until we get down to the 720 area. Nothing. So, you've got, and it pretty much fell straight to 720, really, essentially. And so there's nothing holding it up. Past chart history, right? Shorting sales. Here's another one. The NVC, back to this one, team. So you can just kind of see what I'm looking for my targets. Down and to the left. There's this lower shadow where we halted up at right here, team. And look where it went right down to. We knifed right down to that area. It tried to bounce there, but if we crack that, where's the next area? I'm going right around in this area. Look where it came right down to. Relatively close to right around that area. And that's where I would be probably looking at most of my game, and I'd be out most of my share size by then. That's what I'm doing. It's really relatively easy. Crack of this something that's built up. Then I'm going down to the left to find my targets. Target 1, target 2. Anything below this, like right here, target 3, and anything below that, which would be here, target 4, right? You're just working your way down to the left, down to the left, down into the left to find your targets. Stop losses, just for instance, which doesn't happen because usually you're waiting for what? Confirmation, closing and opening above, should say not above, but below the support line, just like trend line cracks, right? So if you're in here at 4.9, your stop loss has to be, in my opinion, 5 or at most somewhere around this 5.10 area. Now, if you want to give it to the VWAP, to me, you're giving them maybe a little bit too much room. That's 30 cents. Okay, I can understand that, but then, and it could fail there, but that's a long way to even get back down to your entry, right? And so you're giving it too much room at that point in time. I could easily see it failing at the VWAP, but unless you're going to be that kind of trader and have big guns, big funds, and can average up big time to where your average was like, say, 1,000 shares at 490, you average up like, say, 4,000 more shares up here at the VWAP. So you went from 1,000 shares into 5,000 shares in, and now your average went from like 490 to say 515 or over 510. So all you've got to do is essentially get back to really around 5, and you're really going to be banking because you're getting 5,000 shares. That's a different strategy that I'll teach later on, and when it's advanced shorting, right? This is just, to me, in my opinion, I'm giving you the basics of shorting and what I look for day in, day out. Now, that's for more of an advanced trader and an advanced lesson that I can give, but that's what some traders do, right? Your Arnold traders, living like Matt's, right? Your Dex of the world, POV Joshua's of the world. They can go, cool, I'm going to get in right here. Oh, card starts coming up, like it has before, really start showing some resistance around 520, loading up big time. So you like triple, quadruple your share size easy, if not more than that. So that way your average goes from 490 to like relatively you'd want it as close to where you were just trying to average in as possible. So all you got to do is just kind of get right back, 5 cents in your favor because you've loaded up now. 5 cents, 5,000, 5 cents, 10,000 shares, or say 5 cents, if I can talk correctly, 10 cents with 5,000 shares, team. That's a quick amount of money, right? Or even anywhere, but that's where they can kind of make that quick scalp and get out. You see Deck do that a lot. That's for more advanced traders. We'll get there. You need to just concentrate on your one main entry. Where's your stop loss going to be? $5, maybe $5.10. Very highly, I would say the last end all be all, because I do not want you still in and messaging me saying, no, AK, I'm still in at 560. I see some resistance here. I think it's going to fail back. I'm in at 490. I'm like, oh, whoa, hold on. Why are you still in? Why didn't you get at 5 or 510 or the VWAP? So VWAP's got to be end all be all. Okay, traders. And then for your first stop loss 5, second one 510, entry 490. And then of course your scale out zones. This area, this area, this area, and this area. Here, entry below 790. Just say you got in at 780. Stop loss has to be 8. Anything opening closing candles above 8. Got to, because by that point in time the VWAP's there. Over that, got to get out. That's your end all be all. Got to. Where's your target? Anywhere to the 720 area or below, you're banking. So just kind of going through those so you can see what I'm looking for in each and one of those. Say your PENN, you get in at anywhere at the crack of this shelf at around 49.50. Where's your stop loss at? I'd say probably give it a little room. It's rangy. I'd give it close to-ish 50 cents, so maybe back over 50 in or out. Maybe somewhere in these candles. Depends on where you got in at. If you got in closer to 49, you got to think about where your stop loss is going to be differently. If you got in closer to 49.50, then 50 could be a stop loss. But if you got in closer, like where I always teach the opening and closing of candles for the first crack off, right, for the first crack of the support, and then you're waiting for the VWAP to crack them, if you say you got closer to the $49 area, then your stop loss to me in 100% opinion's got to be back over the red line and the shelf that was built at 49.50. That would then be your stop loss. Now going down, where your exit prices. Anything below this shelf and this lower shadow, you're golden. You're going to start cracking away because there's really nothing holding it up. I don't know what happened there, but I guess that accidentally was put in there. All right. PENN. This one, if you do remember, was one of my other shorts that I went live last Thursday. So last Thursday during lunch hour team, a lot of us caught this trade. This is actually a trade that I took with you guys. One of the few and far between trades I take during lunch hours, just because I'd already shorted it a lot that day and was super successful and saw a beautiful short opportunity coming. And why? And where? The shelf. The shelf of this 46.20 area, if you do remember last week, look at this. Support, resistance. Not a little bit of support, but then resistance. A lot of resistance. Got back over it nice and cleanly. Then became support again. I was like, man, that shelf at 46.20, woo, team. And I know a lot of you traders took it with me. Super Buddy was one of them too. I know there's a few traders that took it with me. Beautiful short opportunity right here. We cracked the 46.20 area, quick little retest, and then we were right on back down. This was when I was signing off for lunch hour commentary. It was a beautiful short. Why? That shelf that's built, team. Opening, closing candles, we were in around the 46.15-ish area. I think it was 46.10 to 15. Somewhere in that area as it was cracking off. It did get a quick test back up. I'm fine with that. Back over probably 46.25, 46.30, I would have been out. It didn't get close to that. It barely even tested it, and it was right back on down. And then where are we going to for stop losses? I said the first area I've told most traders to take some at 46.75. Right around this little area right here. You can see going all the way through. And then boom, there was lockup area number 1. Lockup area number 2 would have been the lower shadows right here. Boom, boom, right around that area. And then hit it again perfectly. Then the last area that Super Buddy member brought up was this low area of the day around 510 or 45.10. And it actually came right down to it and got a little bit lower. And then boom, 45.10. And so those would have been the areas to lock up on the way down. Again, team, those are your shelves. Use them. Like a trend line, same thing, or just put it horizontal. Find a beautiful area of resistance / or support that was built up. Like you can see whether it's a sandwich area like this, or it's a nice, here's a good one. Here's a great one right here like this. A nice good shelf that's built. Test. The more it tests that area, team, the more as you can tell, the more it tests these little flat shelves that are built, the better opportunity that you're going to have for a short opportunity. Here's another great short. Here's another great one. Here's BKKT, right? Another great one from today. I think this was from earlier today. Another great short opportunity. Oh, this was earlier from this morning. It's like, oh yes, I can add this one to the mix. BKKT team. Another one. I'll put AR. I'll put all these ones from today. You'll see multiple stocks from today that moved that are great examples for what I had to do today, like for this. And so you can see right off the bat, we're seeing these already daily. We're seeing these daily. Perfect short opportunities every day. You can use these shelf setups. Again, BKKT, I'd go right about this area right here. So I know it's right under 790, so the number would really be like 788. Whatever number you want to choose in your head. Regardless, it was a great short opportunity right there. You build a nice little shelf. Sometimes it's a flag. Sometimes it is just kind of like a channel looking, where it's just for the longest time. But when those shelves, what that flat line of support, when it cracks, team, it's a thing of beauty. Oh, here's another one, Piton. This one was another one from earlier today. This stems back from yesterday's charting. Look at the support. Again, the support right here. Then resistance because we opened below it. Look at the resistance at the opening bell right there, team. Is that not beautiful? That right there, team, that's money. Money. That short at the opening bell, if you can see right here for PTON, that was a thing of beauty this morning. These upper shadow areas that are running into what? The shelf. Now it's a little bit different. It's not a crack off area because I'm about to get into a different kind of a shorting technique, but this is it right here. This kind of comes back to the whole shelf that was built. You find an area of resistance, or which was support before, and then when we move up into that area, it is prime resistance for a short. So you see the support from before, all of it, we crack below it. When we move up into it, especially with solid burst being far down away as we got, we moved a couple of dollars away. So when we finally moved into it, it was a great short opportunity, which again now moves into